welcome your faces back to your daily trade rumours and recap show. We missed yesterday because yesterday we had the Brownlow, so that was quite important. I had to go into hair and makeup to do the show. So welcome your faces back. Hope we're all doing really well. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, give it a share, help a brother out. You can head on over as well to pommyandoz.com and get yourself some merch. That is live now. Big shout out to my main girl, Says. Her birthday today, so happy birthday to you. Her hoodie came, so she's modelled it. She looks absolutely fandabby-dozy. So if you want to be like Says and be like Pom, get involved. And let's get straight into this. This is quite exciting. So Joe Richards has been offered a multiple length deal up at his normal home, which is Collingwood Football Club. They have revised the deal to give him the 3 years that he so wished for. And this could be an interesting one because now, obviously, that gives them... It doesn't really change too much the dynamic of it per se, but it does change it in the terms of there is an offer there on the cards, which gives them a little bit of wiggle room, as we say, in the negotiations. I still think that this is a fairly easy deal to do, to be honest. I still think that if we actually look at it, it's still going to be that pick in the 50s. This isn't going to be a huge one. There is another player at Port we can talk about that has requested a trade. I've seen some rumours. Now, I'd never criticise someone's idea, because ideas are good. Even if they're stupid ideas, genius can come from stupid ideas. Remember, at one point in time, someone baked bread and let's just sell it not sliced. Genius idea along down the track. But I don't think this will be involved in a Dan Hughes to deal should Collingwood go. Joe Richards' value is that 54 happy medium mark. So, like, yeah, Port aren't going to say, okay, cool. We'll give you Dan Hughes to Joe Richards and you give us a future first. It's worth noting that just at this stage, based on next year, for those of you to be aware who are a bit draft heads, next year's draft is quite shallow in my opinion, unless we're going to have a lot of explosions. So, future first probably are less viable than they are today, and obviously you've got McGuan coming next year. He will be maybe a first round. A lot can happen, but remember, next year you get 2 futures to play with, so that could be interesting. But Joe Richards, let's talk about him. I like Joe Richards, to be honest. I'm a big fan. This year in the old VFL, he has been a goal-kicking genius. And if you are a Port fan, just go and watch the Brisbane Lions VFL game. It's over on the AFL website. The 6 goals, the 18 touches. But he's been a real menace in there. And he's got a lot of poise and promise, I think, Joe Richards. 24 years old, 177. The proper small forward per se. He ain't shy of the defending as well, it has to be said. He likes to lead up the ground. For me, I see him as a natural replacement for Jamie Elliott. And I know that's a big call, but I see a lot of Jamie Elliott in him. And that'll be really interesting because obviously, do Port have that in Willie Rioli per se? Obviously inconsistent. This is going to be a fascinating one. This is one of the trades that gets me a little bit excited, to be honest, because it's one of them obscure ones. I think, with the 3-year deal, I think Joe Richards stays. I'm going to say that. I think that means that you value him a little bit more than that. So I think that that's going to be really, really fascinating. Up next, we're going over to a club. Jack Lukosius wants to play for Port. 6-year deal. Get around it. This is going to be fascinating with Jack Lukosius because obviously Jack Lukosius isn't a contracted player in the terms of you can get him. He is fully contracted, fully locked and loaded. It has to be a trade. Now, many reports filtering out at Gold Coast that it's going to be a less deal, right? And I don't understand this because the media kind of like make them out to be like the reject strop. He's a restricted free agent in 3 years' time. Well, 2026, so 2 years' time. So I'm not a buyer that it'll be cheap. But what will Jack Lukosius cost me if I was buying him? I think when you look at Jack Lukosius, he's been played down the back. Now he's back forward. I want to say this about Jack Lukosius. One of my favourite players in that draft, I've got to say. One of my favourite players in that draft. And when he's forward, he leads really well. Very Membry-esque, the way he leads. I'm not saying he's like Membry, but very Membry-esque. But he's got one of the sexiest kicking actions that money can buy. And I think this is an absolute stonking deal, right? And I think this is why they're wanting firsts for players. I think that Jack Lukosius is a missing jigsaw piece for them. Now, Gold Coast will probably be happy to do a future first for this deal. I think that's about his money. He is a really, really solid footballer, Jack Lukosius. It's hard to think that he's played 116 games. He's 24 years old, now 195. He's coming to the best years of his career. I could see this being one of them deals where it's a future first for maybe a future second coming back, which then gives them a bit of wiggle room for another guy. This is definitely going to go through. Jack Lukosius, already I'm going early, potentially the trade of the trade period. This is a missing jigsaw piece. Up next, another player leaving. Tell you what, Port Adelaide have featured heavily in this video, and I don't mean them to be. Ivan Soldo is linked with another trade away to another club. And we love multiple trades. We're a big fan around these parts. But it's worth interesting that Ivan Soldo traded for pick 50 for 41 and 49 with 2 future seconds coming that way. So not really a lot of budget, to be honest, if you actually look at it. If you look at the differential, that's 1573 minus 273. So that's roughly about pick 11. It works out at kind of pick 11. Kind of pick 11 when you trade it with them points. So 1573 minus 273, that's 1200. 1200 points. Sorry, I lied to you. It's pick 13. It's roughly that. Is he worth that? Absolutely not. This will be a fascinating deal because he's nominated St Kilda. And I think St Kilda, well, he hasn't nominated. He's linked heavily to them. I don't want to be the Australian media and lie to you. But you are getting a 65 gamer, 204 centimetres. Hasn't played a stonking amount of games, only 8 games this year. Shown, though, some nice hit-out work, real good coverage. And I really like this because I think the future of St Kilda is trying to find 2 mobile ruckmen, which Ivan Soldo is. I was there with Jakey and saying that the next big thing, shout out Saints TV as well, wonderful channel, that I think the thing that no one's tried is 2 big mobile ruckmen. And I really like Rowan Marshall forward the ball. And Ivan Soldo isn't too shabby at going forward, averaging a goal a game last year, the year before for Richmond, half a goal a game. Decent tackle as well, really suits the St Kilda style of play. Now, what will this guy cost on the open market? It's an absolute balmy question. It's a good one. I reckon, again, Port will do this for a future pick. And I'll tell you for why when we get to the next guy, which is Dan Houston. But I think you could probably get him for a future third. I don't think there's a lot of value here, to be honest. It hasn't worked out for them. It's a second trade. I know some people will come at me and go, but Pom, but history is a very good leader for the value of price. Do you know what I mean? We do offset it. It's kind of like the gold standard in this game. So I reckon a future second, a future third. It could be a real fascinating little avenue here. It won't be a first or anything like that. It's going to be a cheap as chips deal. This is a sensible deal, though, for Port because it gives them steak knives to use in deals, which is so incredibly important. So incredibly important. So this is going to be a real fascinating one that I'm really excited about watching. Makes sense, though, doesn't it? I think this will definitely go through, but this is an absolute great trade. And St Kilda doing the business at the moment. And Port Adelaide really doing some things to add to their stock in a great draft class for them to attack. When you look at them, I think they need a little refresh. When you've got 36 and 54, suddenly you've added some jigsaw pieces already. And I think Soldo is surplus to requirements. And we finish with the big one. Dan Houston has finally officially taken 6 days from him saying he ain't leaving Alberton to say he's coming to Victoria, and he's specified Victoria. So let's talk about that. It was really interesting, his words he used, that he wants to play for a Victorian club for family reasons, and also he is willing to stay if the value's not met. They are 2 key things we've picked up there. One, he hasn't nominated a club, so anyone who's saying, oh, it's Navy Blues, oh, it's Collingwood, absolute barmy. They'll definitely be having conversations. A multiple AA player doesn't come up on the market for a lot. Do you know what I mean? And also, he's a top 3 B&F player, and he's a very, very good footballer. This year, ranked very good. Not elite, very good. 23 touches, 16.7 kicks, 5.4 marks, which is average for a halfback in his role, but elite tackles and meters gained. Really, really, real key standout for this gentleman is his 82% kicking efficiency, something that he gets. Now, it's very interesting when we look at the Melbourne clubs for Mr. Dan Houston. So many clubs will be after this guy. The ilk of this type of player doesn't come up a lot. Now, we've talked about some players that Port are going to get rid of and bring in. So suddenly they've got a little bit of manoeuvrability with the players that they've lost for them future seconds. They want 2 firsts. I don't think it's going to be 2 firsts at all. I really don't. What I do think that you'll be aiming for in this is a first and a second, I think. And I think teams may settle. I think they want a pick this year, though. So you've got to get rid of a pick this year. Now, can Collingwood bring in a first this year? They may do. The way that they sank this year, someone may take a punt on their future first, which then gets them into the trade this year. Some teams are going to have multiple. I think this will come down. Pole position for this before we start talking about who I think. North Melbourne. He suits what North Melbourne want. I think if you went in priority, North Melbourne's the least attractive for him, but they're easiest to get the deal done. Who needs him? Collingwood. I think if you put him on the half-back line, you've seen Nick Dacos move from the half-back to the midfield. It's affected their transition and turnover game. 100% this guy is involved in the conversation. St Kilda. Do they need him? Their half-back line is already good. They rank really hard for defensive high scores and off turnover. So no, probably they don't. He's probably a want, though, because he's a very good player. Then my team, Carlton. If it's pick 11, I'm still... Look, I want to bring joy to you, Carlton fans, but if it's pick 11, it's absolutely madness because you've got enough points to sort with the Camporellis. The Camporellis are going to be a mid-30s bid. So you've got, for Ben, 62, 65, 68. You're trading out a plethora of players. You're going to have the picks. I need to see a trade here. Carlton need to get in the 20s. But the problem is while 11's on the cards, they're always going to after it. And that is a stumbling block with so many deals. While you have it, it's always on the table. Do I think Carlton will trade pick 11 downwards? Absolutely not. If they do, I will fucking go down to Icon Park and lose my mind. So you can't do that. So Carlton have got to find a way to appease this, right? Now, is that making a really good offer for a couple of picks in the mids? Now, the problem is teams like North who are in for him, they ain't going to do business with you. Maybe Richmond will do business with you. And is that a future first, 21 and 29, if they can get their hands on that? It's going to be really interesting what Carlton do because they've got no need to go into the draft next year. It's a shallower draft and hopefully we have a stonking pick. So Carlton are really going to be looking at what they can get for Kennedy and what they can get for Owies and turning that into something that they can get back into the draft. So the only way I can see it in a foreseeable way is Hawthorn are going to lose 13. Do they want to attack the draft? That's really interesting. But looking at one of these clubs that's going to have to make a forced trade, whatever you get for Kennedy and Owies, coupling that up, giving pick 11 and trying to get down the order to like 13, 14 within 2. Trying to get back up so you have 11 and 13. I don't want to trade pick 11 though. It's going to be a real fascinating deal because It's definitely going to be one of them ones. When people say 2 first, they panic and go, oh my God, you're giving 2 first. Something always comes back. I'm quite content. I still stand by this. Pick 8 for Adam Sard was criminal. Halfback flankers, in my opinion, I haven't seen one. No matter who you name me, I ain't paying over pick 15 for a halfback flanker. But the precedent has been set by the Blues with pick 8 for Sard. Dan Houston is an all-Australian. Sard wasn't, so... And he's a good kicker. Sard was a runner in a game that's going more kick-heavy from the back line. So there is a precedent there. So my wheeling and dealing here, going back to the site as a kid, I'm thinking that if Carlton can get this for a 2 first and a second coming back, or just straight up a first and a second, happy days. But the Blues want to protect pick 11, and they've been adamant they're not doing it. Thank God. Is it a future first and pick 20 if they can get their hands on pick 20? Maybe couple up Owies, Kennedy, 2 North with a future third coming back. It's a real complicated deal, but I do think he will be coming. He will be coming to Victoria. This is going to be one of them deals because it's definitely linked with family. It always happens. But there you trade recaps. Let me know what you think, guys and girls. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night live with the great man himself, Ian Brownie, on the channel. We are doing a live list management Carlton session. If you are an opposition member and you've got some mates or some podcasts that you'd like to do, I'm more than happy to make this a weekly thing. I would really enjoy that. I've got the draft knowledge. I watch a lot of football, and it'd be great to just hang with you guys. So if that's something you want to get involved in, please come on down to Carlton as well. What we're going to do is we're going to set it up. We're going to do a power ranking of small defenders, medium defenders, tall defenders, midfielders, outside midfielders, ruck, half forwards, small forwards, keys. And then we're going to try and placate a ranking, find some holes, and then look at some trades. So it's going to be really exciting. Come in, tune in. Thank you very much. Peace, love, and light. Hope you're all safe. Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh